downloaded my Fractal blocks library for firmware 29.01 on the AXFX3. This will work great if you're running an FM9 or FM3 with the latest firmwares, which I think are firmware 10 on the FM9 and firmware 11 on the FM3. If you're a VP4 user, there is a separate blocks library. I want to show you a couple of new things that I have added to the library and just some of my favorite new sounds in here. If you've purchased these blocks previously, you get this as a free update. So if you got them from the Gumroad store, you should have a receipt on there. If you follow the instructions on there, you'll be able to get the new content as a full download. It's all organized, everything's named in there, and you should just be able to repeat the process that you use when you were loading the blocks previously. If you're somebody grabbing these for the first time and you do want to load them up, there are instructions in the download, but basically download it, unzip it, come up to settings, preferences, and workspace. Then here in library, you hit browse and then you tell it to find this folder, Leon's FAS blocks firmware 29.01. Once it's there, you can right click anywhere on here and go to library, refresh library, and then you're pretty good to go. So I'll show you how I actually use my library, because I basically use it to build presets from scratch. So I have got my free cab IR loaded in here at the moment in the cab block. The high cut's at 6500 Hertz. The low cut is at 80 Hertz, pretty standard on there for me at the moment. Let's go to the library and look at all of these different amp models we have in here. I'm feeling crunchy like I normally am. So, I mean, let's try this one. Let's try this one called Friedman Plex. So I kind of dialed this one inspired by the Friedman Plex, which is like a 50-watt 1968 Plexi clone with some extra added bits on there. And it sounds pretty gnarly. Very fun. Another alternative, if you wanted some absolutely chunky high gain on here, would be to say try this Bogner Uberschall. And then, you know, we could add some grease to that. Let's add some delay and reverb. I am going to right click on here and we will go delay. And I don't know, we want a nice lead delay on here. Let's go for this one over here called moist. A very moist term, moist, isn't it? And let's go to the reverb block. And well, there's lots of different options in here. There's some really lovely sounding ones, and there's some that I've deliberately dialed in to sound really bad, like crap verb and crap mod verb. Let's do this. Let's go for studio on here. We'll go for something a lot more conservative. So we've got this nice moist stereo delay. Wide sounding on there. There's loads of lead delays. I've also gone through and dialed in, I guess, some standard stuff that wasn't really in there, like some slapback sounds. There's also things like a SPX90 dual delay. There's a preset on the old SPX90 that I was able to emulate with the dual delay in here that I'm really stoked with. The good old 2290. There's ways of using the delay block as a chorus or a doubler. You've got your Van Halen style dual SDEs over here. Turning the mix down on that one makes a great always on delay. Of course, we can add loads of grease to this by adding something like, say, some pitch detune. There are a bunch of modes on here that have been matched to some of the hardware units that I have, like an old Eventide H3000, the Yamaha SPX90, and the Eventide Eclipse. For example, if we take this one over here called Mondo Chorus, and let's try a clean amp. I'm just going to swap this out. Actually, I'm not going to swap it out on this channel. I'll go to channel B, because this is really a channels library over here, I could say drop in this Dumble ODS clean. I'll go to the neck pickup on this guitar, and now I've got this lovely chorus sound on here. Also really like this POG inspired setting on here with a clean sound. It gives you this beautiful polyphonic pitch shift and detune combo. With a dirty sound, it gets you that kind of Royal Blood Muse thing. Talking about the high gain stuff, something that I've been playing around with in the drive block that I really like, changing diode types and also say taking something like a tube screamer and adding asymmetrical clipping to it. So if you come in here and you look at say the tube screamer tight setting, so this is a classic trick with the pedal, drive all the way down, level and tone all the way up. You know, you've got this big dirty Bogner Uberschall over here. This is going to tighten it up and make it even If you try something like the TS9 mod, there's a few things under the hood in the advanced section which just make it sound a little bit more aggressive. Another one that I really like as well is this SD808, I've called it. So it's using the Maxoff 808, but I've changed out the diode types and the number of diodes in there. So it sounds even more chungus than the normal Maxoff 808, which I think I have over here. So if you go OD808, and then we'll swap over to this SD808 Plus. Just a very subtle difference, but if you're into the big chuggy tones, I think you might really, really like it. Another fun combo is this AC30 sound that I've dialed into the amp block. We've got a bit of slapback from the mono tape delay in there, and then I'm going to chuck on this new Guardian photon speed based on the Greer light speed. couple of other little drives in there. I have really tried to expand this drive section on here, not just to have, a million variations of a clean boost or something on there. We've got things like the Octafuzz, the Octasynth, which basically has a bunch of filtering before the front end of that octave fuzz. So if you don't have a Strat with a tone control that you can turn down, you can still do that Hendrixy synth thing on there. Things like the Crowther Hotcake, the Fuzz Face, all the kind of standards that I go to on there. Plenty of fun to be had with this. Again, if you grab this, just try out some of these combinations. Like take your favorite preset that you've got on there. Just try swapping out the drive block or the compressor block or the delay block in there one at a time. You don't have to totally throw out all the things that, work with your rig. The aim of this is basically to give you some starting points to find some new sounds in there. So for me, I can build my sound really, really quickly with this, where I could say, okay, well, I'm just going to bypass this and I'm going to come in here. And if I want to do some ragdoll stuff, I'm going to go to the ragdoll FAS setting over here. Somebody also mentioned as well, is the updated blocks library going to have that Rockman patch that I did a couple of days ago? It's in there, Rockman X100 Clean 2. But if I just bring up Ragdoll FAS, I've got the cab, I come over here, I think I'm going to use something like, there's probably a wet lead preset or something in there. There's so many delays that I like the sound of in here. We'll do this one, 2-tap lead over here. I'll come over here and I will put on the gold plate reverb. And then at the end of the chain, just for something slightly different, I'll add a pitch block in here. I'm going to come in and I'm going to use the H3000 detune on there. So now I've got a lead sound that I absolutely love straight out of the box. Again, I could go for something totally different. I could try a really nice clean amp in here. Like say, again, I already tried that Dumble ODS clean. Let's try the Fender Bandmaster on here. Let's go to the delay and let's do something a little more lush sounding over here. We could try out this glitch octaves setting. In the reverb block, I could go and use something like the Ursa Major. And then the pitch, I'll move over here and I'll use this Android's Dream patch over here. This should be pretty interesting. There's some really weird stuff in there. There's some really beautiful stuff in there. Again, check out all the blocks in there. If you've already purchased the library in the past, this is a free update. Again, you can just go to the Gumroad store, log into your account, and you should be able to download the blocks from there. If you're a patron, then you've already got these ones, and hopefully you're making a whole bunch of sounds with them. If you do want to grab the blocks and you don't have them, they are linked in the video description. There's a separate VP4 blocks library if you're a VP4 user. But I just want to say thank you to everybody who has grabbed these over the years and who uses them. It means a lot to me to know that these sounds that I've spent a bunch of time in here playing mostly for my own enjoyment and just because I'm curious about how guitar noises work, that people have found them useful and that you're actually out there making music with them, which is what all of this is about. You're a bunch of legends. Thank you so much. And I will see you all on the next one.